every heart you plant a seed. A soul so pure you guide our need. Noha, you touch us with your grace, a light that shines in every space. With every word you lift us high. You show us how to reach the sky. Your love a beacon strong and true. In your embrace we're born anew. Noha, you're the light we follow. You turn our pain into tomorrow. A blessing here, a blessing still. Oh, Allah's grace, your soul will fill.
Welcome back to the Sufficient Podcast with Noha. Today we're going to talk about positive thinking, right? Every time I hear somebody say, oh no, but you have to think positively, I cringe. And again, it is useful in some context, and maybe we'll explore a bit about that. But let's have the discussion around why positive thinking only can actually lead to the depths of depression and anxiety. Okay, so I often hear a lot of well-meaning, and I mean this sincerely, a lot of well-meaning advice coming from many people in the public domain of, you know, having a positive affirmation or having a positive view or a positive thought process, or think positively, or replacing one's negative thoughts with positive thoughts in order to uplift, inspire, or motivate people. And while that is possibly a solution, it's not the solution, right? And the reason why I say it's not the solution is because this entire universe in and of itself, this every galaxy, every part of our existence is made up of duality. That law of duality or polarity exists within this world. The Quran speaks about it very clearly. Most other scriptures also speaks about it very, very clearly, about there being night and day, there being equal opposites, there being, you know, two sides of one coin, right? Now, denying one part, i.e. the positive or the negative side of our lives, is denying parts of the whole, right? So let's take you and I for an example. As a soul, as a human being, you and I have got both our negative and our positive traits. We have our negative experiences and we have our positive experiences. We have experiences that bring us joy and pleasure, and we have experiences that is tumultuous and that is challenging to us. Either which way, in every direction, where the one exists, the other one is also simultaneously present. Now, hear what I'm saying? Where the one exists, they are both simultaneously present. So in other words, you cannot experience a challenge without there being a physical and tangible support at the same time, right? Where you perceive yourself going through darkness, there cannot be no light in that same instant, right? So, and it's such a beautiful thing. It's one of the first verses that I kind of really internalized of the Quran, that speaks of verily with every difficulty there is. It is one of the few places in the Quran where the verse is actually repeated immediately after each other twice, right? I mean, not repeated twice, because repeated implies that it's two times, but it's first and then it's another line. Verily with every difficulty there is. Some people translate, or some English translation Qurans have translated that as verily after every difficulty there is, but I believe that's incorrect. Many others and the very good translations that I have found all support the same theory of with every difficulty there is, right? The universe, God, soul, the cosmic intelligence, the supreme intelligence, has given us both sides. And those both sides are there for our awakening. When we are experiencing a negative event or experience or challenge in our lives, that verse is a reminder to us that it's incumbent on us to actually go and look for where is the support. Where is the positive? Because I'm never going to be given only the one side. I'm given both. But our human nature and our human mind is of such a conditioned nature that we are drawn more into the one side than we are to the other side, right? And of course, what's missing there is the mizan, right? The balance. When we are focused on seeking the balance, we are going to find oneness all the time, right? I listened to a podcast last night by my dearest teacher, Sheikh Fadla Lahiri, who was in conversation with Dr. Adnani Al-Adnani, and brilliant minds, both of them. And there was a commentary that was made by Dr. Adnani, and he said, the two is in the one. One is in both. The two-ness makes up one, right? That's in a nutshell what he was saying. But what he was referencing is that both sides make up the one. You know, in the spiritual or the esoteric circles, we want to speak about oneness, and you know that we are all one. But we cannot have an expectation of entering or resting in that oneness or connecting with that oneness if we are trying to discard of one of the sides of the oneness, right? And I think I mentioned this in the very first episode when I mentioned that one of the beautiful books that I've been gifted on the 99 names of Allah, it references this beautiful section where it explains that even the name and the phonetics around the name Allah is both implying negative and positive, right? In the sense that when we say Al-Wadud, for example, Al is affirming something's stature, right? It's placing it high. It's giving it the affirming of positivity, right? Whereas La means no, negate, right? So there's a strong sense of God telling us over and over that He is both. He and we are both. And that everything in this world is made in pairs. And everything, even experiences, and especially our emotions, are made in pairs, right? Does that mean that we must, have an excited and joyful experience and therefore look for the negative? Not necessarily, no, that's nitpicking, right? But we must be mindful to bring all of our experiences back into that center point of mizan, that center point of balance, right? And that balance in and of itself is a state of grace, a state of gratitude. And gratitude is unconditional love. Unconditional love, again, is love without condition. Doesn't have any rules or regulations. It doesn't have it has time frames or anything like that. It is unconditional. There is no limitation to its form, right? Now, the balance, that center point of gratitude and unconditional love, is the state in which we embrace both the negative and the positive. And it is where the two, the negative and the positive, become and merge into one, making it into oneness. It is the only time when duality ceases to exist and oneness is created within a moment. So, when we are advised or told, or we read somewhere that, we need to think positively, we need to ask ourselves, what is the other side that we are hiding or discarding, and where are we placing it? when there is a negative thought, maybe I'm feeling blameful, or I'm feeling guilty or shameful or rejected or abandoned, or I don't know, unworthy, right? If I replace that just with a positive thought of, oh, I am worthy, but there's no understanding or there's no process in gathering the authentic reason for me being worthy, then I'm always going to be plagued with this thought at the back of my mind that maybe they're gonna see, maybe I'm not that worthy, which is this imposter syndrome that people often speak about. I think this imposter syndrome is probably brought on most likely by the over and exaggerated positive thinking plague, almost, I want to say, but this over focus on positive thinking about, not delving into the negative. It's the same as people saying, oh, the ego must be killed. The ego, we need to let the ego die, right? No, the ego doesn't need to die, because the ego actually plays a very, very important role in our lives. It's not, the ego isn't the thing that we need to follow. Of course, it's our souls, it's our hearts that we need to follow. But the ego is there to point us in the direction of the thing that we need to look at, the thing that we still need to process and heal, the thing that we need to overcome, right? If your ego is leading you in fear, for example, then it's showing you the fear that you're needing to address. If your ego is leading you in, in arrogance, for example, then you know where you need to pull back and create more sincerity and authenticity as well as humility in your life, right? That is the job of the ego. The job of the ego is to help you expand, right? If we are heeding it. So instead of us going around and saying, oh, let's think positively, can we maybe think authentically? Can we stop denying parts of our whole self? Because there's certain parts of me and there's certain parts of you that are undeniably negative. Parts of ourselves that we don't want to show others, but it's there. It is there. There's other parts of ourselves that are perceivedly positive, that are good character traits, that are good naturedness of us, that we want to show others and flaunt in front of others. Right? And sometimes we want to show and flaunt that in the absence of assuming that we have negative. This is also when we have the thought process of everyone, always, never, ever, right? When we start using words like that, when we say that I'm never like that, they are always like that, everyone else knows this about me. It is gross generalizations when we say I'm never like that. It's a gross generalization when we say everyone else is like that. It's a gross violation or generalization when we place everyone in a collective basket of sameness, because we are not all the same. Our makeup is the same from within. Our source is the same, absolutely. But because our experiences, our values and our beliefs, our crises experienced in life, our experiences that brought us either joy or challenge in our lives, is making up the sum total of who we are. And so therefore we can't see the world the same way. Not exactly, right? We are each therefore so unique. I may have a similar experience of rejection, for example, and you might have an experience of rejection. But the way in which I experienced and felt my rejection is going to be different to the way in which you experience your rejection. And so our title of issue, of challenge may be the same, But the way we addressed it, the way we saw it, and the way it affected us is different from person to person, right? There is no blanket one size fits all in this healing or spiritual journey, right? Every one of us is unique, and therefore I'm always saying to people, take what you can from the people that you learn from. Even this podcast right now, take what you can, but go away and investigate. Go away and contemplate, reflect, right? Go and do your own research. Go and sit and think about this. Check within yourself to see whether this resonates with you or not, regardless of who the person is that is teaching you. Always go away and reflect. Right? The Quran speaks about this over and over. If only you were people who reflect. So let us be a people who reflect. Let us be a people who, take the time out to sit in deep tafakkur, to sit in deep reflection and say, what does this mean to me? How do I apply it in my life? Where does it come from? Which parts fits me and resonates with me? Which parts does not resonate with me? Which parts am I ready to take on and process and work with, and which parts am I not yet ready with? Because that too is okay. But to go through through life itself and walk our life's journey, trying to assume that we need to be positive all the time, is going to bring us to that point at some stage where we feel like a failure, right? We feel unworthy. We feel exhausted. And we feel, what's the word that I'm looking for? We feel like we are hypocrites, right? That we have this outward persona of this positive thinking and this positive injection of values out in the world. But when we're sitting with ourselves in private, we are not so positive. We are not. Right? And so does it mean that we need to sit with those negative feelings and drown in them? No, never. There's only a short moment, perhaps maybe a day, maybe even a week for its longest, that we need to sit in a negative emotion. Only because it is wise for us to feel it and to have the human experience. Right? But after we've had that human experience, we then need to start asking ourselves quality questions. This experience is here to come and gift me with a lesson. It's coming to gift me with a message straight from the divine. Allah only gives us hardship because He is wanting for us to gain a message that is directly from Him. And yes, of course, in the process, we are getting closer and nearer to Him through our hardships. But that doesn't mean that we sit and lament in our hardships all the time. It doesn't mean that we sit in sorrow and self-pity. Why me? Why me has never been a constructive or productive question to ask. Not on the offset as the first question, right? When we ask questions like, what is the gift in this for me? Is there another side of this that I haven't seen that I can now awaken to? If this experience was a beautiful gift that was wrapped to me in such beautiful golden wrapping that is coming straight from the hands and the love of the divine, then what is it? Because He's gifting me right now, right? And assuming that my challenges is a gift is not positive thinking, by the way, right? Assuming my challenges is a gift is my opportunity and your opportunity to go in and say and look at something and say, you know what, I've been dealt this hand, I've been dealt this challenge and this negative experience. But I'm not going to be dealt anything that isn't for me, right? So it becomes an incumbent on me to then start looking for how is this for me. Everything in the scenario feels, and again, my human experience, it feels that it's against me. It feels that it's on me, right? It feels like it's at me. But when we reframe that and we say, okay, so I've now felt as if it's on me and at me and being thrown at me. But now, how is it for me? What is the silver lining that I can take from this? What is this opportunity or this negative experience brought to my life that has a ripple effect? What has it prevented or stopped in my life? What has it awakened me to about myself? There are so many beautiful divine messages that comes to us through our hardships, through our challenges. And we'd be wise to truly have a more in-depth look into how that unfolds. So the next time you want to replace your negative thought with just a positive one, I want you to pause rather. First pause. Acknowledge the negative thought. Acknowledge it and say, okay, I see you. I see you. I see my negative thought over there. What's brought that on? What's created this narrative in my mind that says all of these things in repetition in my mind? Is there something that I'm needing to look at that I wasn't willing to look at before, that I can now look at, that I can face? And also, where and since when have I had this negative thought? Where is it coming from? Something must have impacted me to make me think this way. Is there a more balanced and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, let's just use balance. But is there a more balanced thought that I can have? Instead of just trying to flip it over to being positive, is there a more balanced thought that I can have? And a balanced thought is based on truth, by the way. Your truth. What is your authenticity? Because that's the balance. What is true for you? If you are swapping a negative thought over for a positive thought that doesn't feel true for you, you're going to have inner turmoil. And that inner turmoil is where we start feeling like, imposter syndrome and having anxiety and thinking that we're failures and thinking that we're unworthy. I'd much rather have us all look at facing why we have the negative thoughts and what gifts they bring, than taking those negative thoughts and saying, oh, you know what, let's just make it into a positive. It's a band-aid. It's a band-aid. It's only temporary. It's definitely not going to fix anything, unfortunately, right? Once we start dealing with the way we approach our challenges and our negative thoughts, and we bring them into balance, right? Then our lives will naturally be filled up with more things that appear positive. But they won't be in the extremity of positive. They will much rather be in the balanced state of contentment, of joy, of fulfillment, of satisfaction. You see, those are things that don't oscillate. Those are things that is temperate. Those are things that are resting, really, on the balance scales of gratitude and unconditional love. Those are the things that rest in our authentic self, our soul self, which is God. So I'm going to leave that there for this week, and I hope to see you next time. Please, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts that you would like me to have a conversation about on this podcast, please do let me know. You can email me. Everything, my email address and all the other links is below in the comments field. I look forward to hearing from you. For now, thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And I'm sending you so much love and so many blessings. Until next time, goodbye.
You showed the way to live with love in every day. In every soul you spark a flame. Through your touch we're never the same. With open arms you heal, you care. Your wisdom's more than words can share. In your embrace the lost are found. Your presence lifts us from the ground. Noha, you're the light we follow. You turn our pain into tomorrow. A blessing here, a blessing still. All lost grace, your soul will fill. You move the mountains in our minds. You teach us all that love can